Starting on all fours, just begin by moving the spine in some cat breathing. So as you breathe in, lift the tailbone, lift the head. As you breathe out, round the spine and allow the head to come down between the hands. As you do this a few times, feel the movement starting from the tailbone and undulating all the way up to the top of the head. And as you breathe out, movement starting from the tailbone again. So you'll allow your wrists to be under your shoulders, knees to be under the hips so you feel stable. Allow your awareness to be with the breath, breathing in, arching, and breathing out, rounding the back. Now come to a neutral cat and take some side stretches. So as you breathe in, come to a normal cat. And as you breathe out, take the right shoulder to the right hip. Breathing in, come to the center. And breathing out, left shoulder, left hip. Continue to move in that way, feeling the stretch of the side of the body. So contracting on one side, and stretching on the other side. Shoulder moving towards the hip as you shorten that side of the body. Moving on the breath. Now we're going to take some twists. So as you breathe out, take one hand underneath the body, threading the needle, and then breathe in, come up, stretch the hand up to the sky. Breathe out, thread the needle, shoulder and head to floor. And breathe out, lifting that hand back up to the sky. So twisting in both directions. So do that up to 5 times on one side, each time feeling as though you can stretch higher up to the sky. And then go to the left. So left arm, thread it through the gap in the body, between the wrist and the knee. And as you breathe out, lifting up to the sky, elbow first, then the hand. Threading the needle, and then lifting up on the breath. And coming back to a neutral cat, tucking the toes under, pushing through the hands, lifting the knees, and coming up into downward facing dog. Just easing out with the legs, taking a full breath with one leg straight and one leg bent before swapping over. Just doing that a few times on each side. Just feeling the stretch all the way down from the tailbone, all the way down to the back of the heel as you straighten that leg. And then perhaps bending both knees, swinging the chest in towards the thighs, opening up under the shoulders, and then taking the heels back again. Slowly drawing the shoulders forward, so coming into plank, pushing through the hands, keeping the body strong. And then rolling over onto your right foot into side plank, so pushing strongly through one hand, lifting the other to the sky, before rolling over, back through plank, onto the opposite foot, outside of the foot, pushing through the hand, engaging the shoulders, keeping the hips high. Back into plank, lower the knees, and resting down into child's pose. Extend your arms in front of you and then walk the hands perhaps 1, 2 or 3 steps to the right, getting a side stretch. Back to the center, and 1, 2, perhaps 3 stretch steps to the left. Feeling that side stretch up the front of the body, sides of the body, back to the center, and then lifting up into cat, tucking the toes under, lifting up into downward facing dog. Breathing here, lifting the right leg behind you, so 3-legged dog, and then drawing the knee forwards, stepping forwards towards the hands. Bending the knees, take the hands to the hips and standing up into Tadasana. Now we'll work through some sun salutations. So as you breathe in, stretch up to the sky. Breathing out, lowering the hands to the floor. Breathing in, lifting up. And breathing out, stepping back into plank or chaturanga. Breathing in, upward facing dog or cobra. And breathing out, downward facing dog. 5 breaths here, so breathing in. Your hands are active, pushing down through the ball of the index finger. And as you breathe out, perhaps softening. The end of the 5th out breath, jumping or stepping forwards. Breathing in, extending the front of the body, and breathing out, forward fold. Breathing in, coming all the way up, and breathing out. Number 2, breathing in, stretching up, breathing out, forward fold. Breathing in, lifting the gaze, and breathing out, stepping back into plank or chaturanga. Breathing in, lifting the chest, and breathing out, downward facing dog. 5 working breaths here. Opening under the arms, pushing through the hands, tailbone to the sky. Length down the back of the legs and the back of the heels towards the floor. The end of the 5th out breath, stepping forwards towards your hands, breathing in, extending the chest, breathing out, folding from the hips. Breathing in, coming all the way up, lifting up to the sky, and breathing out, back to Tadasana. 3rd one, breathing in, stretching up to the sky, breathing out, forward fold. Breathing in, lengthen the body, lift the gaze, and breathing out, jumping or stepping back to Chaturanga, elbows bent. Breathing in, upward facing dog or cobra. Breathing out, downward facing dog. Once again, 5 breaths here. Breathing in for 4, breathing out for 4. Allowing the head to relax down. Heels actively working towards the floor. At the end of your 5th out breath, stepping forwards, breathing in and extending the body. Breathing out, forward fold. Breathing in, lifting all the way up. Breathing out, coming back to Tadasana. Take a few breaths in Tadasana, allowing your breath to settle, absorbing the energy. So standing at the front of your mat, bring your knees and ankles together, hands to the hips, soften the knees and fold forward over your hips. With your knees bent, reach down, grab your big toes and then draw your body down towards your thighs. With your body still contacting the thighs, begin to lift your tailbone. Keep your body drawn down to your thighs, lifting the tailbone a little higher each time that you breathe out. Bending the elbows, keeping the elbows squeezed in, pushing the big toes down into the floor. Stretching the back of the legs. Breathing in, lifting up, release your toes. And then placing your hands underneath your feet, Padahastasana. Breathing in, lengthening the body, encouraging the big toes into the inside of the wrists. Tailbone to the ceiling. Then releasing the hands to the hips and lifting up into Tadasana. Once again, standing at the edge of your mat this time, taking your feet about hip distance apart. Bending your knees, taking a deep squat, coming down as far as you can. If you need a block underneath your heels, that's fine. Resting your arms on the inside of the thighs. And then keeping the hips low and the knees wide, turn to one side and wrap the arm closest to the knee around the back of the leg. And if you can, reach behind with the other arm and interlace the hands. If not, just place the hand on the floor, one hand to the floor, one hand to the sky. And then twisting in the opposite direction, using the knee to hold on to stabilize the pose. Coming back to the center and very slowly dropping the seat down to the ground, lifting the feet halfway up into half boat, arms alongside the legs. If you can straighten both legs, then do so, otherwise staying in half boat. And then very slowly as you can, come back to half boat, and then begin to lower your body and your legs to the floor. Go slow, extend the legs, hover for a little into a hollow body position, shoulders lifted and legs lifted. And then coming all the way down, lift the arms overhead, and then take them down to your sides. Bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet onto the floor, and lifting the hips into bridge and lowering. So on the breath now, breathing in, lifting the hips up, and breathing out, lowering the spine back to the floor. Breathing in, lifting up, curling up through the spine as you lift, curling back down as you lower. So breathing in, lifting up, and breathing out, lower. Feeling that you can push through your feet to lift your hips nice and high. Keep the length in the back of the neck, and then this time hold the hips high. And as you breathe in, lift the arms overhead. Perhaps shrug the shoulders in. And breathing out, hands to the floor. Breathing in, lift the arms overhead. And breathing out, taking them back to your sides. Once more, breathing in, arms overhead, lift the hips even higher. And breathing out, take the arms down to your sides, then bend the elbows, place the hands on the hips if you can. Lifting one foot and then lifting the other, coming into Viparita Karani. If you can't lift all the way up, that's fine, just keep in Dvipada Pittam with both feet on the floor. If you have come up, coming down one leg at a time, releasing the arms to the floor, keep the hips high, lifting the right leg up, extend the leg, and then lower, again keeping the hips nice and high, left leg, knee first, and then extend the foot up to the sky. Hands extended down by your side still, breathing in and breathing out, the foot comes down and the hips come down. Drawing the knees into the chest, hug them in gently. Perhaps take the forehead up to the knees, rounding the back. Then taking the arms overhead, extend the legs away, come into a hollow body. And then lifting up into boat pose, legs straight or legs bent, crossing the feet, holding either foot, and then jumping back with the feet coming into plank, lifting the tailbone into downward facing dog. Lowering the knees, untuck the toes, and resting down into child's pose. Now we're going to sweep from one side to the other. So sweep over to the left, left hand down, lift the right hand up to the sky and lift the hips. And then as you come down, sweeping to the other side, sweep the arms actively on the floor. And as you come over to the side, lift up with the hips. Feeling a nice side stretch. Go to the other side. Breathing in, push the hips forward, lift with the opposite side, and then coming back to the center. So kneeling now with your hips down on your heels, Lift your arms up to the sky, take them all the way back behind you and place your fingertips on the floor behind you and actively lift your upper chest to the sky. Taking your shoulder blades back and down, collarbones lifting to the sky, shoulder blades moving down your back. And if you can, place your hands on your feet, push your hips forward and lifting up into camel pose. So know it's fine to use blocks for your sides if you'd like to use blocks. If your back's feeling strong, you can release the hands from the heels, bring them to prayer position, and then lifting up into upright kneeling. Coming down to all fours and then lifting back into downward facing dog. Breathing here for a few breaths. Releasing, allowing the breath to return to a natural pace. Now keeping the elbows squeezed together, slowly bending the elbows down towards the floor, so the forearm dog. And if you can, push through the hands and lift the elbows back up into downward facing dog. And then step the hands back towards the feet, coming into a forward fold. Hands to the hips, bend the knees, coming into a standing position. And then bending the knees into Utkatasana, mighty pose. Lifting the arms up to the sky, knees bent. And then breathing in, coming up. Just easing out through the wrists in any way that feels nice. Just rotating around with the wrists. Taking another forward fold now. Placing the hands down in front of the feet. And then lifting the hips. So we're in a short downward facing dog. Shoulders above the wrists, and then extend the right leg up behind you. Keep it strong and straight. Lift it as high as you can. Keep pushing down through the hands. Keep the shoulders strong, and then lift up and down onto the toes of the left foot. So as you breathe in, lift up onto the toes. As you breathe out, come down. And then swap legs. So left leg lifted up behind, strong and straight, active through that raised leg. Active through the shoulders, lifting up and down onto the toes of that opposite foot. And then bring that foot down, bending the knees, bringing the knees to the floor, tuck the toes under and coming into child's pose, and return to your breathing. So now extend the arms in front. Tuck the toes under and coming up into downward facing dog. Stabilize the pose with the left foot and lift the right leg up behind you. Then swing the right knee into the chest and thread it underneath the body and place it on the floor in front of you. Opposite arm lifting up to the sky, fallen triangle. And then swing the leg back into three-legged dog, up into the air, nice and high. Bend the knee and almost as though you were kicking the heel into the butt and come into wild thing. So placing the foot down on the floor behind you, lifting the opposite arm. Back into three-legged dog and then back into downward facing dog. And go to the other side. So stabilize with the right foot, left leg swings up behind. Swing the leg into the chest and then place it on the floor in front of you. Lift up with the opposite arm. Back into three-legged dog. Extend that leg nice and high. Bend the knee. If you can, drop it all the way to the floor behind you and lift the opposite arm. Back into three-legged dog and back into downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here. Pausing here, dropping the knees, untucking the toes, coming into Vajrasana, kneeling. Interlace the fingers and then turn them out so the palms are facing out. Lift them up to the sky. Take a side stretch to the right and a side stretch to the left. Release the hands, taking a twist to the right and a twist to the left. Just using the hands to guide you, one hand on the side of the knee, the other hand behind. Coming back to the center. So do some cat-cow breathing now, but from kneeling. So as you breathe in, lift the chest to the sky, arch the back. And as you breathe out, rounding the back, hands to the knees, drop the head. Breathing in, take the hands behind, lift the chest, lift the chin. And breathing out, round the back, hands to the knees. And again, breathing in, arching the back, lifting the chin. And then pausing in Vajrasana. And coming forward onto all fours, tuck the toes, lifting back into downward facing dog. Stepping one foot forward, crossing the other foot behind and sitting back down. Feet out in front, come into half boat, so lifting the shins parallel to the floor. And once again, very slowly lower down to the earth. Coming into Shavasana and spending as long as you want, resting, releasing and letting go. Whenever you're ready to come out gently in your own time, taking as long here as you need. Namaste.